Welcome, everyone, to the Game Vault Podcast. I am your host, Tom Schuster. Joining me tonight are Mark Myers and Jenny Aquino. Tonight we'll be giving some recommendations on what to play before the Nintendo eShop goes away forever, and review our Retro Roulette game, Grandia, for the Sony Playstation. But before we get to all of that, what have you guys been playing? Mark?
Yeah, so I've been playing the two newer games. Do you want me to go last? Or
No, go ahead.
No, okay. All right. So, just to make Jen jealous, I have been playing Horizon Forbidden West. I'm about 8 to 10 hours in.
Nice.
I'm already level 9. But the game's so pretty. Especially on PS5. The major thing about it is all the lead up talk about, Aloy's design, which I knew was already bullshit. It's even more bullshit when you actually play the game. Mm-hmm. She looks no different than she did before. Or at least I don't notice any difference.
People just like to make a big deal out of nothing.
Well, still shots,
Yeah.
That you can catch anybody looking terrible. I mean, there's a whole Twitter account meant to just show Joe Buck and Troy Aikman looking like they're high while doing the broadcast. So, still shots, you can show anything you want. Yeah. But the first recommendation I have for anyone playing the game is just like the last Horizon, you can go back to areas. So just beeline the main quest until you get into the Forbidden West. Because there's no reason to just putz around and do all the side quests at first. You can go through the main quest until you're in the Forbidden West, and then you can turn right back around and do all those side quests you skipped.
Are you saying this because you did that?
And no. I had this advice given to me as well.
Okay.
I did some of the side quests because they seemed interesting. Like 2 or 3 of them give you stuff, so if you want to do those, like they have a cooking mini game now. Well, not mini game, like mechanic.
I don't like.
No, she doesn't cook. You buy it off people, but
okay, like Breath of the Wild style. I thought you were going to say.
I don't like that. I don't like the Breath of the Wild stuff.
Oh, I love it in the little song.
I don't.
It's closer to Monster Hunter,
okay,
where you get it and gives you buffs.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
But it costs stuff. So
because that all started with what, Final Fantasy 15 with the cooking, or was Breath of the Wild before
Breath of the Wild was no, there had to be cooking and so. Oh no, there's cooking in Tales games.
Oh, okay.
In terms of cooking to give you benefits.
Yeah, I don't like it. Just give me a potion that has the benefits. I don't need to cook something.
Yeah. So, but this one is closer to Monster Hunter. Than Breath of the Wild. Yeah. So you do one quest to open that up. And then you do another quest to open up a new weapon, which is a spear. Like a javelin sort of thing. I said spear and realized you had a spear, but it's like a javelin that you can put elemental attacks on it. So as the person that gives it to you says, you can throw it and it goes boom. One of the best NPCs. I hope she's in it longer. That's all she wants to do is just make things go boom. So that stuff's all great. The side, little side conversations as they were in the first game. The only thing I really didn't like, and you had to do this for games, it's that whole, like, you're introducing characters from the first game again, and just the way you introduce them is like, oh no, there's Varl, he's the son of the mother, given, like, their whole backstory, like, no one would talk like that.
Well,
right.
They gotta give some background to people who never played the first one.
No, I said that. I know you have to do it. But when you're playing it as somebody that played the first game, you're like, all right, I get it.
It can be annoying, but you got to keep that in mind that, especially since it's on a new console, some people may not have had a PS4 that have a PS5.
Yeah. And, and they do it, and the drunk Osram guy is as good as he ever was. There's a pretty funny scene right before the first, like, major story event that just made me chuckle. Between him and Varl, if you remember who that was, the Nora guy. I don't know if you remember it, but So far, combat's still fun. I will admit something on this podcast just because of the next game I'm talking about. I'm playing that game on easy, just so I can get through the story because I am also playing Elden Ring.
Oh, geez.
And that game is probably much bigger than Horizon. So,
are you playing Elden Ring on easy?
No, you can't play it on easy.
There's no easy?
There's no levels.
Okay.
No like easy, hard, medium.
Okay.
That game is that game. That's what Dark Souls games are. So
Yeah,
I know I'm going to be frustrated enough playing those games.
So then I won't be playing Elden Ring is what you're telling me.
Yeah. I want to see Dan play Elden Ring.
I do too, because he really liked Skyrim, and I know they're not identical, but it's in the wheelhouse.
Yeah.
No.
And there's, so I know that game's going to frustrate the shit out of me, and I don't want to be going back and forth between two games that are frustrating the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Horizon's story enough. I love the combat to the point that on easy, I have to remember sometimes to heal myself. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm dying. Because I'm just standing in the open firing arrows instead of in cover.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, so highly recommend Horizon. It's a shame that for the second time in a row, it is being outshadowed by a game that is probably a game of the generation. Are
we calling Elden Ring a game of a generation already?
Well, it's got like a 97 on Metacritic. I mean, it's very rare for games to get that high of a Metacritic.
It's only it came out on what, Tuesday?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, because because when Zero Dawn came out, that was a week or two before Breath of the Wild came out. So they have a really shit time picking their release dates. So Elden Ring, it's Souls. It's as our friend Jonathan described, it's got a lot of a little bit of Skyrim stuff in it, but definitely if you like Souls games, you'll love this game. If you're not really, if you don't mind what Souls games present, you'll have fun with this too. But if the kind of combat that this game has, in terms of being very unforgiving and you have to learn patterns, you're going to have a terrible time with this game. So just be aware of that. But the best part about it is that it is all open world. So you can go anywhere at any time. There's things you have to do, kind of like Breath of the Wild, that sort of thing. But you can just walk out and then you walk into a big area and all of a sudden a boss drops in on you. Out of nowhere, you'll just see a health bar come at the bottom of the screen, which in those games is the signifier that a boss is there. I'll tell one story. Not going to say where it is or anything, just so people also get surprised by this. But at one point, I hit something in the water that just, I thought was just like, this is going to be easy to get things. And then I hit it, and all of a sudden I just heard whoosh, and then a giant Durgan just landed in front of me, hit me with its claw, and I was dead.
Nice.
So I don't, Mark. I don't think I was supposed to be in that area yet.
Yeah, the Durgan was like, no.
That's usually how they tell you you're not supposed to be there at that point.
You are dead.
I don't remember. Did it say that? Because it says that in the Souls games, when you die, you are dead.
Yeah.
I got to remember. That was my last death before I turned it off, because I got up at 5 a.m.
Oh my God.
To play it.
5 a.m. to play the game?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I wanted to play it before the podcast tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We recorded this on Friday, FYI. So yeah, and like I said, I only played it for a half hour, and then I took a nap and went to work.
Dang.
But yeah, so I'm looking to get back into that, and I wouldn't have time tonight, mainly because I'm preparing for our D&D session coming up. So I knew that was the only time I could get it in. So playing through that, trying to think. I do my sports game stuff, NBA 2K and NCAA. I keep looking at on my screen to get back into Cyberpunk. I dipped back into Night City for a little bit with the update, and I'm going to say this, and this has probably been said a lot already, but I think this was when this game should have come out, because game looks much better than I remember it in terms of the world and the way traffic and people work, and all the stuff they added to it gives a lot better side quest stuff if you're starting from the beginning, because you can like rent apartments now if you want to live somewhere else besides the one location they gave you in the first game. There's a couple new side quests. There's new like types of side quests, and they should have waited to release it like now or last fall.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
they were a slave to the hype machine. That's really the problem. They should have never announced it when they did. Is really what it comes to. They announced it way too early because they announced it like almost 10 years ago, and the ability for people to just make up in their head what this game is going to be is what killed it.
Yeah, and that game that you thought it was is what it is now.
Yep.
So if you have been holding out on Cyberpunk, I'd recommend PS5 or X Series X or PC. Either one. Don't do the old consoles, even though the updates on the old consoles. Do the updatedness of it. I highly recommend it. If you have played it before, be warned. They reset all of your upgrades and things like that. You get all the points back, but you got to do it again. I think it's that's like a Dead by Daylight does that sometimes, right? I'm not mistaken.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, if it's usually a glitch when that happens, and then they just give you this was because they've reworked how everything, like they nerfed in some things and buffed others, so they gave you the opportunity to respec if you wanted to. So that's all I've been playing. Probably with the big move coming up, but the next podcast will be from my brand new apartment. I'm probably just going to be focusing on these 3 games. But I say that, and then as I text you, I have a problem. But now I have to be a responsible renter. So I'm glad I got 3 long games, meaning if I dip into Cyberpunk for another 20 hours, that can hold me off. Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, Jen, how about you?
So I've been playing the usual stuff. Dead by Daylight, actually a bit more. I think what did it for me was the PTB and the Ring content coming out as a test. It was just a lot of fun. And solo queue, not to jinx it, which I'm probably doing that right now, but solo queue has been okay. It's notorious that if you play Dead by Daylight in solo queue, it's pretty difficult to find a good team consistently. But I've been having a lot of fun with it. So, we're working on our relationship, DBD and I. We're taking it slow. Yeah. But yeah, nothing really new there aside from, like I just said, the Ring is coming out on March 8th, I believe.
Yeah, that Ringu stuff is pretty good.
It's so good. The videos that you can find of people getting scared by the killer Sadako in the loading screen is amazing. I was just going to
say, yeah.
Yeah.
It scared the shit out of me, and I was watching.
Yeah, it scared me. It scared Tom. It scared half the chat. It scares everybody. It's great. I love it.
Yeah.
But that's something that I'm looking forward to in the beginning of March. And then Phasmo has been awesome as always. Nothing new to report there. Hellcoming, that's that new game that I started playing. That's like a very large commitment to play one game. I played another game of that. Again, it's like a 2-hour commitment. So, every once in a while I'll play it. It's definitely not something I could grind to like Phasmo. I've also been playing a little bit of Monster Hunter Rise. I'm still HR7. I haven't really played it that much to be able to message like our friend John and be like, hey, do you want to jump on with me so we could try to beat this monster? Because I'm at the point where I get really close to beating a monster and I don't have the time if I cart 3 times to like restart it. So I just need to play with him or somebody else and just get through it. So then I could, just continue to level up from there. But it's still a lot of fun. I'm enjoying Rise a lot. I just haven't.
I'm sorry. You mean you can't speed run it in 3 hours? Is what you're saying?
No, I mean, not 3 hours at least. I don't know. It's the weapon that I'm using is the hunting horn, which is really, really good. It just involves you getting really close. Like there's no ranged attacks with it. So it's kind of hard to play, at least for me. It's hard to play by myself. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. I just need to really commit a lot of time to it. And every time I play, I have like a limited amount of time, and the battles, it takes like 50 minutes sometimes, depending on if I'm struggling. So I do need to just sit down and play with somebody else to beat the rest of the main part of the game, so that I could just play and level up however I want.
I get it.
Yeah. And then I've been playing a little bit of VHS. Unfortunately, they actually got a big cyber attack.
Oh, no.
And they had to shut down their servers. They said that they're really glad that this happened in closed beta, though, because it gives them the opportunity to not only identify their weaknesses, but improve them before it even comes to early access. And they said that nobody's personal information got stolen or anything like that. It was literally just like an attack on their servers. I would go out on a limb and assume that it was a Dead by Daylight fanatic that tried to take down VHS. Because as silly as that sounds, there are so many people who are diehard DBD fans that want this game to fail because they think it's going to kill Dead by Daylight, and they can definitely coexist.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if someone, knew what they were doing and were like, yeah, let's just destroy this game. But they're not up and running yet, but they just posted an update a few hours ago on their Discord saying that they are working out the kinks, but things are going well, and they'll let everyone know when the servers are back up. So
that's good.
It's disappointing, but that team, like, you could just tell they're doing a really good job. They're very transparent. So hopefully we'll get back to VHS soon. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I guess most of my time has been split between Dead by Daylight and Phasmo, honestly. So aside from my Retro Roulette game that we're going to talk about later, that's pretty much all that I've been doing over the last 2 weeks.
It's good to see you guys making up a little bit.
Yeah, I missed it. Like, DBD will always, have a place in my heart, but it's too much sometimes, the frustration of it. I want to be able to have fun when I'm playing that game, and it makes me frustrated, but also like disappointed that I'm not enjoying it the way I used to. So
yeah, I
take my breaks from time to time, but it's going
get
well for now. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah,
I have been playing a whole lot of nothing. Well, not nothing, but I've been playing. I'm still playing Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like my main game, right? Because it's life happening central at my house. So playing that has been all I've been doing. When I get a chance, that's really all I've been able to do. Besides playing Halo and playing, getting back to Chrono Trigger, which I guess I could talk about too. But
where are you in Guardians?
I am at the point where you have Mantis with you.
Okay.
So I think it's like chapter 10.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
she's great in this chapter.
I'm like 2/3 of the way through, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's about right. I think it's 15.
So I'm glad I'm getting towards the end.
Yeah, you're coming up on my favorite moment of the game.
I'm glad
it's not like a big story moment. I mean, it kind of is, but it's a thing that I had to pause the game and just laughed for about a good 2-3 minutes. So,
well, I'm happy that I'm getting towards the end of the game because obviously there's a lot of stuff coming out, and I would like to play some of it. I don't know that I'm going to be able to, but I'd like to think that I can. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I finally got like the third power that Star-Lord gets finally, and it's a lot of fun. It's interesting how they use those powers. It's nice that they keep them involved because sometimes games will do that. They'll give you a special ability, and then just you don't have to use it ever, or it's shoehorned in one level and then never used again. So
yeah,
I'm happy to see that they're using it well. And then Chrono Trigger, wow! We had a really good stream the other night. We had 2 raids during Chrono Trigger. It was awesome.
that was really cool.
Yeah, and we got back in the swing of things. It took a little while because
I had to find the place.
We had to figure out where we were in the game. It's what happens when you take a 3-month break from an RPG. You have to figure out what the hell you were doing, and it didn't click for me until we got to when we went to find Frog.
Yeah.
That this whole thing started because we had talked to Frog,
yeah.
And that's why we had to go do it.
Yeah, we didn't do anything in the mountain. I thought we had just finished it, but it was the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that I was able to guide you to those 2 items, which I think helped you.
Yeah, they definitely helped. Yeah, Mark is like my guide. He's basically reading a walkthrough as I'm playing, which is nice because I would play Chrono Trigger with a guide anyway. That's just the way I like to play RPGs. Some people don't like guides on the first playthrough, but I am one of those people that if I miss something that could really use, I get super annoyed, and that's why I generally play with a guide or someone. If I'm on stream, Mark helping me through, which he did with Suikoden too, which was thank God, because I can't imagine trying to play that game without some sort of guide. Just because of how, especially with Suikoden, because you have 108 people you could add to your army.
Yeah, it was Pokemon, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Chrono Trigger was a lot of fun. I really like the battle system, and it kind of leads into the game we're playing this week for Retro Roulette, which we'll talk about later. But before we get to that, Jen has got some news for us.
Yep.
Some good, some bad, some ugly.
Yeah, that sums it up perfectly. Maybe a little sprinkle of weird. You guys will be the judge. But the first game I wanted to talk about is something that released within the last 2 to 3 weeks, depending on when our listeners are hearing this for the first time. It's a little game called Lost Ark. I don't know if you guys heard, but it's setting some major records already, which is pretty wild. So just in case you don't know, it is a free-to-play MMORPG that you can either play solo, you can hook up with friends, or you can get matched up with total strangers. There's a ton of action. There's dungeons and raids. It could be PvP if you want it to be. And there's plenty of like open world exploration to do. This is actually not a brand new game worldwide. It apparently released in South Korea at the end of 2019, but it officially released in America on February 11th. And within 24 hours, it surpassed 1 million concurrent players, which has made it the second most played game in Steam history if you look concurrently, which also means it has surpassed Counter-Strike Global Offensive and Dota 2, which are always dominating the top of Steam's most played games list. So the only game that it has not exceeded at this point is PUBG. Their all-time peak was 3.3 million concurrent. So that's kind of crazy. In 24 hours, this really game crazy. Is right there behind PUBG. So I thought that was really interesting. It's also so popular right now that there's just a ton of, and this is unfortunate, major server issues. And in some countries, the servers are totally full to where there's a queue of people waiting to start playing. That's how many people are playing. Yeah. And
are they going to stop selling it and make people download it like Final Fantasy 14?
Who knows? It is wild. It's actually it's dominated Twitch too. So, you know, if you're searching through the top categories on Twitch, it is now more popular than just chatting. And we all know what goes on in just chatting sometimes.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know, Jen.
Yeah. None of us would know.
No idea.
It's crazy. So overall for the month of February, if you're looking at an average, Lost Ark is averaging 1.4 million concurrent players with over 15 million player accounts created worldwide. So that's a lot of hype over this game.
This is a game that is not even remotely on my radar also.
You definitely have to be into a MMO to want to play one because it can get pretty toxic and pretty intense, and it's just not for everybody. But I mean, there's 15 million people that like it, so
yeah. And also, I'm assuming you're not on Twitch as much, and that game's all over Twitch.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's the only reason I knew about it.
Yeah, well, I had heard about it, and some of my community members were talking about it very recently, like before it launched, like right before it came out. But there was a ton of people waiting for it to release. I know that much. So it was definitely highly anticipated for it to surpass 1 million concurrent players in 24 hours. It must have been.
Yeah. But
yeah, I don't think I will play it, but no. I do kind of want to watch some gameplay of it. I haven't really watched anything too much, but I'm interested to see what it looks like. But I know a lot of people are very happy with it right now. So pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, anytime a new MMO launches, I feel like something like this happens. Mm-hmm. And if it's a good one, it'll stick around. If it's not, it'll go free to play and everybody will hate it in 2 months.
Right. Well, I think it is a free to play, but you can purchase, I don't know what they call them, like packages or not packages. I can't think of the word, but to give you advantages, you could purchase things. So it's kind of like that. Yeah.
It's one of those.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like a pay to play in that sense, but I think that they do offer things that you can purchase for the game. So I very briefly was looking through Steam before and saw things. It like the main game is free, but I think there are things you could purchase for it. So I'm not quite sure. I guess maybe like Elder Scrolls or World of Warcraft, where you could buy things for your character with real money. It could be like that. I'm not sure if anyone, can let us know. That'd be helpful.
The old days when you could buy a mount.
Right. Yes.
Or horse
it
armor.
Could be something like that. Right. Horse armor, a mount. Hell yeah. But yeah, so I'll keep my eye on that game. I mean, again, I don't think I'm going to play it, but it'll be interesting to hear how it, if it keeps, beating up Dota 2. That's kind of crazy to imagine. I don't know if it's going to take over PUBG, but you never know, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was interesting. And then my next one is a short but sweet one. Netflix, 2K, and Take-Two Interactive have announced that they are partnering to make a live-action film adaptation of BioShock. This is in its very early stages of planning. They literally don't have a date, cast, or a director yet, but they pretty much came together to announce that this is happening. I'm excited.
I'm surprised it took this long.
Me too.
For somebody to make a movie out of BioShock. I feel like it's one of the more cinematic of the game of video games.
I think I can't remember who it was. Somebody owned the rights. It was the director of Pirates of the Caribbean, and I forget what company were supposed to make a BioShock film, and it got canceled. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was something was like starting to be in the works a while back, like years ago, and then it stopped for whatever reason. So I don't know why, but I mean, I'm excited. I love BioShock a lot, and like you just said, it's super beautiful. It's cinematic. It's got a great storyline. Those games, along with excitement, is fear because of what they did to Cowboy Bebop and Resident Evil. So I don't want to get I don't want to get too excited, but until we have information that we can go off of, I'll be positive about it because that's all I have. But I think it could be cool depending on how they do it. So we'll see. But that's literally just the announcement so far.
Yeah. So to give you some good news, I should have mentioned this up front. I went and saw Uncharted.
Yes.
And it's a solid movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's what was the word I've been using? It's harmless. It's very
movie.
It's very much like Tom Holland's great because Tom Holland's actually a good actor. Mark Wahlberg is basically Marky Mark in this. Doesn't even try to really be Sully. The girl that plays Chloe is really good. And Antonio Banderas is Antonio Banderas. So. It reminded me a lot of they I think I said to Dan on They Call This a Movie that it did all the fan servicey stuff way better than Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City did.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't like all that Jill sandwich and all that stupid shit that they squeezed in.
I almost punched my TV when they did that, by the way.
But yeah, they talk about the ring. It's around his neck. They give that backstory without being too cheesy. They introduce Chloe's backstory and stuff without it, and you go, oh yeah, I remember all without like being way too obvious about it. You don't have to play the games to see the movie. They do a good job of that. It's a very there's not much that you need to know to get what's going on. And it does the thing better in this game than Horizon does, reintroducing characters. Like when they introduce, like Chloe comes up and, he goes, here comes Chloe, just like that. And like you kind of get everything from that reaction.
Yeah, it's a more natural.
From Sully, and then her reaction to him, But if you like a dumb action movie, that's kind of a little bit National Treasury in terms of history and stuff like that, and going through, catacombs and things like that. It's very fun.
So, Mark, would you rather have seen Tomb Raider, the first one, or this Uncharted movie?
Okay, when we say Tomb Raider, are we saying the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider or the Angelina Jolie?
Angelina Jolie.
They're probably both the same.
Okay.
In the way you don't need to know the video game to enjoy the movie.
Well, that's good.
It's way different than, like, there's enough of the video game in there for the people that watch the video game to get it, like, to enjoy some stuff. Like, like the thing you see in all the posters where he's hanging off the cargo stuff from the plane. I think that's either from one of the games or it's an homage to one of the games. And then, and then there's a couple after credit scenes at the end, which are just straight like fan service, which are pretty good.
That's what the after credit scenes are for, right?
Yeah, literally they just do fan service stuff. I won't spoil it for anybody that might be listening to watch it, but yeah. I do want to jump in because I forgot to say that we were watching it. It fits in perfectly.
Yeah, it does.
Because, maybe they're turning a corner on video game movies. When these more well-written games are made into movies. Like, it gives me hope for the Last of Us series and like a BioShock thing. Just because the games that have movies to them were never really the well-written games, like Assassin's Creed and Doom and Tomb Raider, like they were just a character, and not an actual story. So maybe as we get further away from this turn in the way video games are written, maybe video games will turn.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll stay positive until we start getting information, and then we can make more of an informed, I guess, decision on what we feel like it's going to be like. But I'm looking forward to it as of now.
Yeah.
Something very weird that I came across that I had to mention for multiple reasons. I want to ask you guys, do you remember a while back when someone nonchalantly asked Behavior on Twitter to, and I quote, add sex to DBD?
Yes.
Oh, I've heard this.
Yeah. Well, as funny and unlikely as that seemed, we may actually be getting something within that wheelhouse.
Yeah. Jen, can you tell Tom the name of the game?
Yes. So Behavior has filed a trademark for a new game called Hooked on You, a Dead by Daylight dating sim.
Oh my God.
It's great.
It's its name. It was filed on February 16th to be exact. And it's for an actual game. It's not a song. It's an actual game. That's all the information that's available currently because it just happened. So it could turn out to be like this elaborate April Fool's joke, or it could be a real game that they're making. But either way, I'm really interested to see how this turns out. I think after G Fuel pulled the fake April Fool's joke with the Sanic corn dog flavored G Fuel, anything is possible. Like, the commitment is possible.
Got to commit to the bit. That's my
right. You got to commit to the bit.
That's my motto.
So it was funny. I was looking on Steam, and they post news stories related to the game. I saw the headline and that said Dead by Daylight is making a dating sim, and I'm like, wait, what? And I clicked on it, and I was like, are you kidding me right now? It's wild. I don't know.
The name made me laugh for a good 2-3 minutes.
It's hilarious. I'm looking forward to seeing what this becomes. I don't know. It's something.
Something is it's exactly the word I would use.
It's something, yeah. So more to come on that, I'm sure. We'll let you know. Lastly, before we move on from all the good stuff, we have some Steam Deck updates. But first, I just want to say happy Steam Deck launch day! Yay! I've been digging through the internet to find updates on the Steam Deck to personally help me make up my mind on whether or not I'm going to be getting it yet. And I came across some really interesting game testing data that Miles Dampier of Windows Central Gaming did. And I was reading through it. He went through the top Steam games that a lot of people are playing right now and how they look and perform on the Steam Deck. And I figured I would list some of them since they're either games that we've played in the past and know well enough to understand how they perform, or they're either big new games that just released or things that we may want to play. So I figured I would mention the big ones just because it's kind of helpful to hear the performance issues or positives that he found when he was testing. But Apex Legends, we've played that. Unfortunately, that is unplayable due to the easy anti-cheat, which is a known issue that, devs that run their game with that cannot get their games verified on the Steam Deck, unfortunately. Dark Souls 3, he said when he played it on the high graphic settings, it performed at 30 frames per second. So he lowered it to low and got pretty consistent 60 frames per second. He did say that it felt better than the Xbox One launch version, and it looks similar to it graphically. So if that helps anyone out there who played that version initially compare, that's pretty much where it is on low settings. Destiny 2, unfortunately, is unplayable because of the anti-cheat software as well.
It's the worst.
Yeah. Elden Ring, he tried. He said that of all the games that he tested so far, this was the least optimized game, and it still performed pretty decently. It was around 40 frames per second, and he said it was on medium graphics, but dropping it to low doesn't improve anything. So that's pretty much as good as you're going to get with Elden Ring, but not as bad as it could be either. He tried Halo Infinite, unplayable. It kept crashing because, again, most likely the anti-cheat software. Yeah. Left 4 Dead 2 he tried, which I thought was interesting. He said it looked perfect and ran consistently at 60 frames per second, but it had suspiciously long load times every once in a while, and sometimes it would freeze when you first load into the main menu, to the point where he was like, is my game going to crash every time that he would like load into something? But he said for the most part that ran really well, just the intermittent weird load times.
Weird. Did he say which version he had? Did he have like the maxed out one?
I didn't note that. I don't remember. I'm sure he did. I would assume that he probably had. Which one did you just mention?
The 512 gigabyte one.
Right. I would assume that's probably what he had, but I'm not sure. I could take a look later and let you know.
Yeah. From everything I've seen of the coverage, the unless if you're planning on playing some of those like high end games and stuff, you can get the medium one, the mid level. If you're just using it as like have 1 or 2 games on it when you're like traveling and stuff, you don't really need to go to the 512.
Right.
But
I feel like this is one of those things that I would only have one game installed at a time.
Yeah, and the 64 is too small for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it has expandable storage, so.
Right. Yeah. He tried Lost Ark. That was unplayable as well from the anti-cheat software. Monster Hunter Rise, he tried. And this was pretty interesting because I played Rise on the Switch when it first came out, and now I'm on PC. So I have like a pretty decent understanding. He said it basically looks slightly better than it did on the Switch, but drastically better performance-wise. He said it ran consistently at 60 frames per second, and it looked great. So it is edging out the Switch with this game. He tried Phasmo, which I was really happy to see. Phasmo runs by default on its highest settings, and he said it looked great, and it locked in at 60 frames per second. So, that's good for me. And then Valheim ran at solid 60 frames per second on medium to low settings. Some text is unreadable or really hard to read, but overall, he enjoyed the experience with Valheim. So he's saying basically he was very impressed with the overall performance of the Steam Deck, especially with the more demanding games like Dark Souls 3. He said he was specifically very, surprised in a good way how well that played. But unfortunately, if you're trying to play an online multiplayer game like Apex, Dead by Daylight, Destiny 2, etc., they are unplayable because of the anti-cheat software. Valve is trying to get around it. They're saying that they're working on it for the future, so hopefully that'll happen. If you have a game in mind that you'd like to check to see if it's verified, you can check out PCGuide.com. I know that there's a big updated list as of this month on there if you just search for Steam Deck verified games.
Yeah, I think there's 3 levels of verification.
Yeah, there's verified, which means they'll work with the intended graphic settings. You don't have to do anything. Then there's I forget what the mid tier is, but it's you can play it, just know that you'll have to tweak your graphic settings. And then there's the, this won't work at all.
Yeah.
which
Well,
don't even buy it.
the beauty of PC gaming is that you can mess with the settings to get it to run as well as you want.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's nice that the Steam Deck will still allow you to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think personally, I am leaning I don't know. I haven't decided. I still have my reservation. They told me that it's not going to ship till after Q2 of this year, so I do have time to really, think about it and listen to reviews. I mean, the first wave is shipping out today or has shipped out. But I don't know. I feel like with the anti-cheat thing, it might be a deal breaker for me right now.
Well,
I don't know.
considering you play mostly multiplayer online games,
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
I mean,
For someone like me, it doesn't matter because I play all single player games.
Mhm.
But for someone who wants to play multiplayer stuff, that's tough.
Yeah. And I think I read today that the dock isn't shipping with the first wave.
But you
So the
can
dock
use,
is delayed or something. Yeah.
you can use any third party.
Right.
As long as it's USB-C, I believe.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, and another downside for you, Tom. And forgive me if you said this through the wave of games you mentioned, Jen.
Mhm.
But Halo Infinite you cannot play on.
Yeah.
She mentioned that, but
Okay.
Halo always has that anti-cheat software, so it doesn't surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully they can figure that out, because I think it would be huge if they could play, if you could play any game, as long as you the worst case scenario should be, I have to really turn down the settings, but I could still play. That would be fine. But not be able to play these big, huge, awesome games sucks.
The thing is also it's an 800p screen, so you're not really going to be taxing stuff that much, because you can either turn it down to 800p or 720p.
Right.
The best part about it is they're PC games, so you can knock down certain things and leave other things high if you want. So,
Yeah, you can figure it out. I mean, Dead by Daylight specifically has so many settings. You can make it look almost just as good as if you were running on all your high graphic settings by tweaking some things and leaving other things alone, like you said. So there's definitely ways around having to change your settings to make it run better. But we'll see. I don't know. Like I said, I'm still undecided, but I'm glad that people are so transparent about how it's running. Like, everyone's being very honest, I feel like, which is cool. No one's being, bought for their opinion. Everyone's being very transparent. So,
oh yeah, I've seen a bunch of reviews already.
Yeah,
with pluses and minuses. So it's nice to see that.
Yeah, I agree.
The one game I care that if it would play, it plays. So I may end up getting it at some point. It plays Forza Horizon. That's all I really care about.
Yes, it does. I think he might have mentioned that, or somebody else that I was looking into mentioned how it runs really well. So that's good. But yeah, I mean, this list is not even scratching the surface of all of the games that are verified and run perfect on this console. So don't think that, for anyone listening, don't think that it's not, doing a great job. These are some pretty demanding games, and it's doing very well with most of them. So it's promising. I think it's revolutionary. If they can get around the anti-cheat, that would be insane. So fingers crossed. More to come, as always, on the Steam Deck. My last little bit of news before we jump into our main topic, that is, I'm sure everyone has heard that Nintendo announced the 3DS and Wii U eShops will be discontinued officially by March of 2023.
Ooh.
So, yeah, we're sad about that. The more time I have to think about this, the more sad I have become. So basically, they're rolling out this closure sort of slowly. So by May 23rd of this year, of 2022, you will no longer be able to add funds using a credit card to your 3DS or Wii U eShop account. And then as of August 29th of 2022, it'll no longer be possible to use an eShop card to add funds either. You can still redeem download codes, but you can't actually use your eShop card to add funds. And then late March, as I said, in 2023, it'll no longer be possible to make purchases, download demos or themes. You can't redeem your download codes anymore. You can't add funds, etc. They're closed forever. They did say that you will be able to re-download games that you had previously purchased, but I don't know if that's going to last forever. I don't know. But it's sad, We've been talking about it off podcast and on stream, and it stinks to think that this is like, this is it for DS and several other games.
Yeah.
That came before it.
Yeah, it. I would love to know the inside, like ledgers and accounting for why they can't just keep this stuff open. Because it would be like free money.
Right.
To just.
It's hard. It's hard to tell if it's a money thing or if it's we want people to buy our new thing.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was more so that second part. Like, obviously, money is always a thing with Nintendo, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to push more people into like Switch stuff.
Yeah, because that's really what this comes down to, right? Is that, well, I mean, most Wii U games, well, I say most, but most of the games that people wanted to play on the Wii U are now available on the Switch.
Right.
The Switch has also taken over the handheld space that the 3DS used to, because they no longer produce 3DSs. Granted, you could still go into a store and purchase one, but...
I mean, they just stopped making the 3DSs, essentially, right? Like, within the last 3 years?
Yeah, and that's
like
the thing.
2019?
You can still... The thing that blows my mind about this the most is that you could go into a store today and purchase a new 3DS or new 2DS, and within 3 months, not be able to buy anything on it.
Yeah.
Digitally. If someone is digital only, and that's the way they buy their games, that's
useless.
Useless. It's a brick. It's a big paperweight.
It's really sad. That's the crate. Like, if you look at it separately, I think the 3DS portion is crazier than the Wii U, because like you just said, you can literally go into a store and buy a brand new 3DS at full price. And within the next couple of months, it'll be potentially useless if you can't get a physical copy of the game.
Yep. And that's the part that pisses me off the most, I think.
Yeah.
And
we've talked about physical prices going way too high in price.
Yeah. And this is just going to kill, like, the 3DS market. Like, if you're interested in the 3DS and you want to buy games for the 3DS, now is the time to buy anything physically that you want. Because as soon as the eShop is gone, prices are just going to skyrocket.
Right, I'm already seeing some things that are just unacceptably
expensive. Because this happened with the PS3 too. When they announced that the PS3 store was going away, prices for PS3 games that nobody gave a shit about, like sports games, were going for $40. Like unreal prices for stuff just because of a store going away, and that kills. It kills the fun for anybody who wants to collect that stuff.
Yeah.
Jen, why don't you tell everybody what Nintendo had to say about how they're going to release classic games from now on?
And I quote, "Across our Nintendo Switch Online membership plans, over 130 classic games are currently available in growing libraries for various legacy systems. The games are often enhanced with new features such as online play. We think this is an effective way to make classic content easily available to a broad range of players. Within these libraries, new and longtime players can not only find games they remember or have heard about, but other fun games they might have thought to seek out otherwise. We currently have no plans to offer classic content in other ways."
That's so shitty.
Yeah.
So shitty.
That was their response, again, to someone asking, how are we going to get our classic games in other ways?
It sounded very much like, was it Jim Ryan or Andrew House, Tom, from PlayStation? When they asked about the same thing, he was like, well, I think our PlayStation, wants the new system, when they were asking about backwards compatibility.
What the hell was his name?
Don Matrick?
Don Matrick from Xbox? Yeah. Oh, we have something for them. It's called the Xbox 360.
Yeah, so these people, when you put businessmen in charge, sometimes they don't get it.
It's really shit.
Yeah, this person that had submitted this question to them, they basically said, like, don't you have an obligation to preserve your classic games by continually making them available for people? And that was their response.
They basically said, nope.
Yeah, they said, LOL.
We don't give a shit.
Nope.
Yeah. That person should have known Nintendo, of all people, was not going to answer that positively, because they shut down ROM sites. So
all the time.
They also took they also put in DMCAs for music on YouTube that they don't release.
It's a shitty thing.
Yeah.
And this will be an interesting thing to see what happens after these things go offline. I imagine you'll see a lot more download links for certain games that you could only play on one of these two systems.
Yeah.
So the one thing I wanted to say, like we were saying about this, they don't plan on releasing any way to play classic. Once these stores go away, you will no longer be able to purchase and play GBA and original Game Boy games. There'll be no way to legally play those games. You will either have to have the original cartridge or you will have to emulate them. And there's no other way to do it because they're Game Boy GBA, they're not on this, they're not on Switch Online, and DS and 3DS also, obviously. But specifically Game Boy Advance, you will not be able to play those games in any way unless you purchase them now before the store goes away, or have the cartridge or emulate them. And that's really shitty that there's no way to play those now. This will be the first time since the Wii that you won't have an ability to play those.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts at how it's really shitty of Nintendo.
Yep. Agreed. That was the ugly segment of our news today.
And adding one thing that I think is just partially a rumor now, but sort of adds into this, is that I think we'll get the PlayStation version of this backwards compat stuff coming up in the next Direct, because it sounds like Spartacus is almost ready. I kind of hope they keep that name, to be honest.
They won't.
They won't. because these things don't know how, because these companies don't know how to name things.
No, they're just going to call it PlayStation backwards compat.
And I will 100% get it, because, if the rumored price is true, it's only an extra $5 a month, from what I already pay for Plus, so yeah.
We'll see. It all depends on how it works.
Yeah. The one thing I want, and they'll never do this, is I would love the old backwards compat thing like PlayStation 2 had, where you could put a disc in and no matter what it was, it would play.
No, I would love that. I have all kinds of discs that I would like to use.
But I think I'm assuming it's legal reasons that they can't do it like that because of licensing and stuff.
Licensing, yeah, because people would be able to play anything. They could play the original Gran Turismo.
All that music is, and
car deals are gone. I don't know though, because you could on a PS3 you could play PS1 games. So I don't know what it is. I don't know what the problem is anymore.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm kind of hoping it is. It probably won't be, but
I mean, the weird thing is that PlayStation has always championed backwards compatibility. Nintendo was the one that never used it, and it's just interesting to me that it's taken them this long to now bring it back. But we'll see. Yeah. These are all rumors. We don't know anything yet.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this brings us to our main topic, is what should you buy now before you can't buy it anymore? I was racking my brain, and a lot of the stuff that I was thinking of was a lot of Game Boy and GBA stuff, because, again, if you don't have the cartridge, you won't be able to play these things anymore, and that just pisses me off. But yeah, I have a few games. I don't know how many you guys were able to come up with. Yeah, I have a list that keeps growing as I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I have 3 and then one weird one.
Okay.
So.
I have 6, but one spans 7 games in itself.
All right.
So,
well, since you have the most, Jen, why don't you start?
Okay. I want to say before I give my list, I didn't own a Wii U personally, so my experience with that console is limited. I would really just go to use it at my cousin's house, but the 3DS, on the other hand, that was my handheld console before I got the Switch. So there's a lot more games that I can talk about for that console. So the first thing that came to mind, which we already partially covered in a way, were all of the Pokemon games that I played for my whole entire life on my 3DS, because you could play your Game Boy Color games on there. You could play your Game Boy Advance games on there. So literally, I'm telling anyone that's listening right now, if you want to be able to get your hands on digital versions of Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, X, and Y, go get them from the store. They are $10 each. I think all of them are. I think that's a great deal, because if you wait too long, you're going to have to try to find physical cartridges, and I don't even want to know what that's going to look like.
Me either.
So, yeah. But like I said, I mean, they have more games than what I mentioned. Those were the games that I owned and that I played. But I think that they're a must-have if you're a Pokemon fan, or if you're trying to, look into becoming one, whatever. Now's your chance to get some pretty great deals on the digital versions of the games for the 3DS. And Pokemon is great on the 3DS and even the 2DS. So
Yeah.
I would highly suggest picking them up because, again, probably aren't going to like buying physical cartridges.
No, especially like even like red, blue, and yellow.
Yeah, those were the big ones. Red, blue, and yellow for sure.
I try to buy red under like $30 now. Under anywhere.
No, it's tough.
And they're all $10 on the eShop.
Yeah. So do it.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, so this one's going to be a little weird just because this isn't the weird one, but more so because it's an opinion thing of mine. If you have a Wii U and you have not purchased it yet for some reason, and you only have a certain amount of time to play before a lot of things go off for the Wii U, I would go purchase the good Mario Maker in Mario Maker on the Wii U. They came out with 2, wasn't as good. Go back to the original that was a lot of fun and, didn't try to do too much. If you haven't purchased it yet, it's a great thing that you can, once all the servers go offline, you can't play the stuff, you can just make levels for your family and friends, when they come over. And it's an endless Mario game that you can change the difficulty, have fun with forever. So yeah, that's my first one. All right, it's one of the reasons. It's one of my big regrets. I think both of my Wii U games are my big regrets for never getting a Wii U. The first Mario Maker is a lot of fun, and you can have it be the only reason your Wii U is still hooked up for years and years to come.
Yeah, because people don't know that you can actually just play the game too, an actual game behind Mario Maker.
Yeah.
After you start making maps and stuff, there's a game you can just run through and it'll just continually give you levels as you go.
Yeah, and you can make the levels and continually play them locally.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of mine are going to be like GBA and stuff, but GBA is a great place is great to be played on the Wii U because you can play it on the tablet and it looks really good and it doesn't do a weird upscale thing to it, and it allows you to not have to even have your TV on, which is kind of the first incarnation of what the Switch became. And the first one I would say to pick up is Mario Kart Super Circuit, because a ton of maps from that game are now on, the Switch and the Wii U version of Mario Kart 8. And they keep bringing those maps back, and I highly recommend you go play the originals because they're a lot of fun. And Super Circuit was a really fun game on the GBA. It was kind of the first next generation Mario Kart that I can think of before, we got Mario Kart Double Dash and stuff like that. Which, who knows? Maybe Nintendo will grace us with Double Dash at some point. All right, Jen, what do you got?
Next one is still to this day one of my favorite games we've ever played for Retro Roulette, and that is Luigi's Mansion, the original one. It is amazing. The music is great. It has a sprinkle of spookiness that I love. Obviously, it came out for the GameCube initially, but currently there is a digital version of this game available for the 3DS. It is pricey. As of right now, it's $40. I feel like it could go on sale at some point. Physical copies of this game for the 3DS, it's in the same area price-wise, but it's a bit more expensive. It's closer to $50 if you buy it. So I maybe would say for this one, this would be a great game to pick up if it does go down in price digitally. Just keep your eye out, because I feel like once the eShop closes, this game will skyrocket. Physical copies will go up even more. So I know personally I'm going to be watching to see if it drops below $40, because for me, I think $40 is a little much, but we'll see. But I had to mention it because, the GameCube, I think I was looking, the GameCube physical copies are really expensive, like maybe $80, $90 starting. Yeah. So 40 is better than that, but maybe it'll drop a little bit more digitally. So I had to mention it.
Yeah, I got another. Mark, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Yep. So my next one is, again, my main regret for never getting a Wii U. I hope it'll be rectified by Nintendo soon, but make sure you pick up Wind Waker HD. Definitely, I'd have to reorganize my list thinking about it, but it's at least top 5, maybe top 3 Zeldas.
And
for me,
specifically the version
yeah,
on the Wii.
Yes, because the GameCube one has a lot of quality of life stuff that is really poor that the HD version fixes. In most part, the sailing isn't as long.
The sailing is almost real time, right?
Yeah, it's pretty long on GameCube, which is where I played it. So, it reminded me of the. I at least finished Wind Waker, but all that sailing got me to the point where it was almost like when I was playing Spirit Tracks, which is the train version that's like Wind Waker. But yeah, get Wind Waker HD. I'm hoping that Nintendo, the rumors are true about a split Wind Waker Twilight Princess, remaster sometime this year. But for now, if you have a Wii U, again, go and purchase this game because it's one you don't need online services for, and you can eventually pass it along to your kids if you don't keep buying new systems for them to be able to play. But yeah, they specifically get this HD version on Wii U. Do not buy the GameCube version.
Yes, it's definitely not worth it.
Yeah.
All right. So my next one is also another GBA game. And this is an interesting one because this version on the Wii U has stuff that you could not get as an American. So the game I'm talking about is Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3. Gotta love Nintendo naming.
Yeah.
So it has e-reader levels that you could not have gotten if you did not live in Japan. So this is the only place to legally find this that still exists anywhere for someone in the US to buy. And it's in English. It's been translated, so it's not Japanese text. So I highly recommend checking that out. That's probably going to be my purchase that I make before this all goes away, just because I would like to be able to play those levels because I've only seen them. I've never been able to play them. So I'm thinking that's going to be my one Wii U purchase that I make out the door. But yeah, highly recommend that. I think there's a whole video on it that Stop Skeletons from Fighting did. So go check that out if you want to learn more about that. But yeah, that's my second choice. Jen, what do you got?
So my third one is the Harvest Moon games that are currently available in the eShop for the 3DS. I was obsessed with these games on the GameCube specifically. If you've never heard of Harvest Moon, it's super adorable. It's like a farming / dating simulator. I guess you can compare it to Stardew Valley of today. It's just a very relaxing, kind of like a shut your game off or shut your brain off kind of game, going back to our last podcast. I played, like I said, the GameCube versions of Harvest Moon, but if you wanted to get those physical copies, they are anywhere from $100 to $200 and up right now. So if you don't want to buy A Wonderful Life or Another Wonderful Life for that much, the 3DS has 3D and 2D Game Boy Color Harvest Moon games available. So I think there's 5 of them or 6 of them in the store. They range in price from $5 to $30, which again is much cheaper than the physical GameCube games and also cheaper than the versions available on the Switch, because those are, not shockingly, anywhere from $60 to $70. So if you're looking to try to experience Harvest Moon either nostalgically or to try it for the first time, I feel like this is a good time to try to get it for your 3DS while they're so cheap digitally.
Yeah, definitely. Especially games like that. There's another one I'll mention when I get to it, but yeah, the best part about these shops is that you could get these games that cost so much money and they're digital and you don't have to pay a ton for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just making me sad more.
It's depressing. Yes, because you're like,
depressing episode, guys.
Yeah, we're reliving like our favorite games, knowing that they're never going to be available again, like without spending an arm and a leg.
Guys, do you remember that they're making a Dead by Daylight dating sim called Hooked on You?
Can we talk about that again, please?
Hooked on You.
All right, the mood's back up a little bit.
So is it me? I'm trying
to...
Yeah, okay. So this is my weird one. Just because I don't know if you can actually get this in America. So make that a a preface to all this, but since it's a GBA, if it's available in the United States, get the original versions of the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney games on GBA, because they are sprites and not what you see in the visual novel-esque HD things that are on the DS and forward. So it is a whole different experience. I've only seen it played, and people were playing translated games. So I'm not even sure if you can get it, but if you can, and it's on digital, grab it. It's a good historical thing of a game that just has a complete different look to it, because it was on the GBA compared to, the more advanced consoles later. But yeah, that's it. Don't have much to say, because those games are great anyway. Even if you can't get on GBA, just buy the thing on Steam. Those are some of the best written games in terms of hiding the fact that it's just a point and click adventure for the most part. It's another one of those, like, trying to find the NES SimCity. It was just completely different. So yeah, that's my weird one. I wanted to split up what you're probably guessing my last game is. So
my next one is Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like this game got missed by a lot of people because it was called Wario Land and it wasn't a Super Mario game at all. It's kind of an interesting thing altogether, because it plays like a Mario game, but it's Wario that you're playing as. So it plays similar, but it at the same time it's totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's got a really good replayability factor, because what you're doing in the game is you're trying to get a castle for Wario. That's his thing, is he wants a castle because Mario has a castle.
I'm a Wario and I'm gonna win.
And the better you do in the game, and the more like secrets you find and stuff, and the higher score you get, the better castle you get at the end. So if you just like blaze through the game and just play it and you don't care about stuff you're picking up, you'll end up with like a hut. It's pretty funny what happens at the end. But yeah, highly recommend that. I believe that's on Wii U and the 3DS. So 3DS is awesome for Game Boy games, original Game Boy games, because you can play it in like the original mode. Jen, I don't know if you've noticed this. Like, you can play if you hold start while you boot up a Game Boy game, it'll actually like put it in a Game Boy surrounding, and it'll be the original size in the middle.
Yeah,
it's really cool. It's kind of like Super Game Boy. It's a really cool thing. See, this is the thing that annoys me, that Nintendo does cool stuff like that, and then they take it away from it.
Right. Yeah. Messed up.
All right, Jen. You want to give us two here?
Sure. So this game, I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard of because it's a little obscure, but that is Tokitori. I've talked about it a few times on this podcast every once in a while. This is basically a game that I played on the Game Boy Color initially. But I was really happy to see that it's available for the 3DS in its original format. And also Tokitori 2 is available, but more importantly, the Game Boy Color version. You basically play as a yellow chicken. You're trying to navigate through the game to rescue your brothers and sisters who are still in their eggs with their like feet sticking out and they haven't hatched yet. And each level, you're trying to avoid the enemies while collecting the eggs before the time runs out. It's simple. It's a lot of fun. It was gifted to me in like 2001 because it was a Game Boy game and it looked cute. So it was assumed that I would like it. And luckily I did. And to this day, if someone knows this game, I get really excited because, like I said, it's a little bit more obscure and lesser known. But the good news is here, you can currently download the original Game Boy Color version from the 3DS eShop for about $5. And if you wanted to play the 3D version, that's $2. So either way, that beats the hell out of the current price of the game cartridge, which is not possible to find under $100, which I was very surprised to see. So yeah, just look it up. If you've never heard of it and my description doesn't help you at all, just look it up. I think it's worth it for $2 or $5. Do me that favor and try it and let me know what you think. My next one is a silly one that I had to mention, and that's Nintendogs. I'd be lying if I didn't play this a lot growing up. My sister and I shared the game. We only had, we actually played this on the 2DS, but yeah, we shared it because we only had one DS at the time. So we would argue about, proper puppy care and training. But overall, this was a great, nostalgic game for me to think about because we were dying to have a dog. We didn't have one yet. So this is as close as we could get. It's simple. It's super cute. That's really all there is to it. If you want it, you can currently download it right now for $20, which is pricey, but compared to $45 and up to get the physical copies, and there's a bunch of different versions because they added breeds over time and you could get a new cartridge with more breeds on it. So that could get really pricey. So if you're interested in, this is something I think we mentioned a few games ago. If you ever want to give this to your kid, it's a great game for a kid to play. And I feel like it's not something that's ever going to go out of style because it's puppies. So I would suggest picking it up. Like I said, $20 seems like a lot, but compared to the physical copies, it's really not that much.
Yep. All right, Mark.
Yeah,
give us
my
your
final one. No surprise, it's a Zelda game. So definitely pick up A Link Between Worlds. It's definitely another one in my top 5 Zeldas. It is the first. Now I might get a little bit of heat for this, but it's the first of the Zelda games that's a direct sequel to another one that's actually good. So shots fired.
Yeah, shots fired for Majora's Mask fans.
So yeah, and it uses the 3D really well, which I feel only really the first party Nintendo games were able to do. And it used the whole weird thing where you could blow candles out by blowing into the microphone part, and things like that. I love the system of you can rent the items, ahead of time, until you got a special item to be able, you can get them permanently. So it gave you the chance to maybe explore the open world a little bit sooner and quicker, and you didn't made the game a little bit, you could play it differently through different playthroughs and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely one of the best. If you haven't played it yet, go play it. It's probably one of the best games on the 3DS.
I would agree with that. I own it. I would definitely recommend. My last one is another weird one. It is Mighty Final Fight. So, Jen, you'd probably get a kick out of this game. It's Final Fight, but it's like chibi, like cute. I forget what they call the actual thing. But have you ever seen like River City Girls or River City Ransom?
I don't think so.
So they take everything and shrink it down, and they cutify it.
Right.
But it's still like the same game. But the really interesting about Mighty Final Fight is that it was on the NES, and it was like a really late NES game. I think the Super NES was already out because it had to have been, because Final Fight got released on the Super NES and Mighty Final Fight got released on the NES, which makes this one of those astronomical games that didn't sell anything because it came out after the SNES was already out. So if you have to try to find the physical copy of this, good luck. It's like Little Samson levels, I think, at this point. If people know what Little Samson is, that's also another game. It's just like that. Go watch Gaming Historian. He's got a whole thing. But Mighty Final Fight is really good. It's really fun. And especially if you don't have an NES and a way to play NES game, this is going to be the best way to find it and play it. All right, Jen, give us your last one.
My last one is for the Wii U, finally. And that is the Wii Sports Club games. I feel like we had to mention this.
Yep.
Because, unfortunately, physical copies of this game are insane right now. Partially due to them being announced for the Switch, I think. And then partially due to the eShop closing. So right now, each of the original 5 sports games are about $9 or $10 in the eShop. So if you enjoyed playing these, which I'm sure most people that had a Wii have at least one that they've played, I would recommend picking it up because you are not going to want to pay like $50+ for
it's
Wii bowling or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane.
Wii Sports was a pack-in game for the Wii, and to find like a disc now, it's like you're paying over $20 for Wii Sports. It's crazy. And like Wii Sports Resort and all that other stuff. you're finding it like in the box, good luck.
Oh God, yeah. I was only able to find, and I didn't like dig deep. I was just curious. I was finding things in boxes for a lot of money. So
It's crazy.
yeah.
But yeah, that's I think we've covered a good spectrum here with the games you can find and still get, and we recommend if you plan on spending some money before that goes away, check out some of those games because you'll never get to download them again. But yeah, hopefully in the future Nintendo finds a way to allow people to purchase or play these games somehow, because otherwise people are just gonna do some
Shady
gray
shit.
market stuff. Yeah, and there's nothing they can do about that. So it is what it is. But yeah, so anyway, enough sad stuff. Let's get on to something a little lighter, and that's our Retro Roulette game. This week we played Grandia on the Sony PlayStation. It's a Japanese RPG. Big shocker, I know. But this was an interesting one. It was a lot different than all the other ones we've played, I feel like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So I'm interested to hear Mark's thoughts. Mark, why don't you get us started on where you're coming from with Grandia?
Yeah, so the first off, it's one of the more slower openings to an RPG that I've ever played. And this is me going through it for a second time, because this was the game when I used to stream before Game Vault Pod, that I had picked to play after beating Wild Arms. So I'd already gone through most of what I played on stream here. Again, and I forgot how slow it was. The one thing I did like was that it did have the intermittent voice acting in it, which helps, even though I think some of the voices were choices. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it's for the time it's great voice acting, as Jonathan let me know in the chat during that, which is 100% true. But and then me trying to do the impersonations of them to stream, is how bad it was. But the combat, once you get a hold of it, not as bad as Vagrant's Story, but sort of in the same thing because they give you no tutorial.
I'll get into that, but yeah, there's no tutorials at all in this game.
So once you get the hang of it, it's pretty good. If I didn't have the two big games that I just purchased to play, I would probably continue on just to see the story. This just feels like it's an RPG that I'm going to pick up and start playing multiple times, forget how slow it is in the beginning, and then lose all my momentum each time. But I've only heard good things, and Tom, before we move on, I feel slightly offended you called this the Grandia of the PlayStation 1. This is obviously a Sega Saturn game. So
you can read Japanese, sure, it's a Sega Saturn game, but if you're playing in English, it's a PlayStation. Jen, how about you? Where are you coming from with Grandia?
So, I had a really good time playing this game, and I did not know what to expect at all. I had heard the name, and that's as much as I knew about Grandia. That was it. I had a few positives and negatives, and then something kind of like a mixed feeling on. I love how they did the character portraits. I think they're super cute, and they have a unique style to them that's not overdone. So I really love that. And the opening music right in the very beginning when you start up a new game, it reminded me of Spirited Away's music, and I loved it. I really enjoy the personalities of Justin and Sue, who, if anyone doesn't know, those are your main characters in the beginning of the game that you play as. I will go as far to say I enjoyed them more than Estelle and Joshua from Legends of Heroes, Trails in the Sky.
I think it's the voice acting that does it.
Well, I like how they are friends. Like Justin's this scrappy wannabe adventurer who's a troublemaker, but it's cute. It's not annoying. And then Sue is like this super sweet, adorable friend. And it's not, and maybe I haven't gotten to this point yet, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not an awkward, weird, incestuous sexual tension between them that I really don't miss.
You mean they don't feed each other sandwiches?
Right. It hasn't gotten to the point where they're looking at the sunset by the water feeding each other sandwiches as brother and sister relationship.
Now, before we get too far away from that,
sure, break my heart.
Mark, are they're I don't know if they're related, but because she calls she calls Justin's mom Aunt. So I don't know.
They
if
do.
that-
They do.
I don't know if that's because. Well, I know her parents died because they tell you that almost immediately.
I think that's why she calls her aunt.
I don't know. I don't know if
I might be wrong.
I don't know if she adopted her or how.
Well, Sue lives next door with.
Yes.
I thought her aunt and uncle.
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on in the beginning.
There is a lot.
I have also absorbed a lot of story from 2 different games while also playing this, so I'm trying to remember. But yeah, there from what I know of other people playing it as well, it is not the incestuous stuff that we saw in Trails in the Sky. I had heard jokes about before playing that game. I did not hear anything about it in this game. Now, there might be a will they, won't they sort of thing.
Right. That's why I said, like, maybe I haven't played far enough to catch that, but as of now.
From all the photos, key arts and stuff, it looks like they'll probably more lean on the other character that shows up.
Yes.
I
agree.
The relation, so.
Yeah. So I appreciated that aspect. I also really appreciated that this game wasn't overly difficult to figure out your way around the town. I think it was cool the way that they do it. Like you said, it is very slow in the beginning, but you do the little search for items thing. And I think it was a cute and smart way to help you learn where everything is and get a feel for having to talk to everyone to get through the game. And then another big positive, Sergeant Nana and Fina are really hot and I love them. Moving on. And Fina is the one that you're talking about, Mark, that they introduced.
I couldn't remember her name.
Adventurer. She's amazing. I love her. She's my waifu. Regarding the battle system, this is where I had mixed feelings. I think that it's simple enough once you get the hang of it. I'm not a seasoned RPG player by any means. That being said, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I've noticed. I feel like in the beginning, Sue is pretty useless. She's very weak. And I don't know if the game is smart enough for the enemies to purposely target her more, but I feel like that happened constantly and she was dying constantly on me in the very beginning.
Yes. I mean, she's a healer. She's not.
Right.
And I feel like if you want to do any damage with her, you have to use like her special move or whatever. It's points.
I didn't notice that as much.
Okay.
But maybe I was keeping her away from the enemies better. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's something that I definitely wasn't as aware of, like placement wise, how important that was in the beginning. Like you guys said, there's no tutorial, so you feel it out. But yeah, that was kind of frustrating. And then the camera angles sometimes get a little weird during battles, but also the map, like you only get a small overhead area, like aerial view of where you are. So when you're going forward and you're in an area where enemies are constantly running back and forth and scanning for you, it's really hard to get the jump on them on purpose in this game. Because sometimes you can't see what's in front of you until it's in front of you and it sees you first, and then they have the ambush on you, which makes some battles really difficult to get an advantage in.
Jen, did you know you can move the camber?
Yes, okay. I do know you can move the camera, but like there were times where I was going through the mines where you like go under tracks or something, whatever it is, to get to the next area, and you see everything, but at that point there's already an enemy that's seen you. You know what I mean? And you can't like avoid it if you wanted to.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But and sometimes I feel like I think that I got the jump on an enemy, but it said that they ambushed me anyway, so I don't know how accurate it is. It's overall, I feel like it was just a mixed bag when it came to the battling in general, but I feel like it's mostly okay. Negatives, my biggest negative, and it's funny because Mark already brought it up, I hate the voice acting so much. And the worst part so far was in the very beginning when for some reason every time they speak there's no background music and it's just extra awkward. It sounds like someone sitting in their house in the kitchen talking into a microphone. It's so bad. There's not one character that I enjoy the voice of. Maybe Fina a little bit. That's it.
Yeah.
It's so bad. I'm sorry, Jonathan.
For the time,
sure.
Good, because remember, everything was silent.
Yes,
for the most
yeah.
part back then.
I mean,
Yeah, they definitely went the way of trying to get better audio than dealing with visuals, I think, in this game, for sure.
Yeah. They tried to stand out in that sense.
which I can respect that, but
No, it's bad. Like, the first Resident Evil voice acting is terrible.
yeah.
You know, like, it's the time period.
Yeah.
Where, you didn't get a lot of people didn't know how to do it because they were used to doing, like, animated cartoons and stuff like that.
Right.
And, so that's why the choices occurred in their voices, because they're used to having to be over the top,
Right.
with when dubbing stuff. But yeah, it just, I don't know I think it informs, as bad as it is, for me, it informs the personality of the characters better by hearing somebody voice acting them.
I agree. I think it definitely does.
It eliminates all the confusion that people had for years with Cloud in FF7, where the way people read the lines is how they took his personality to be.
Right, that's a good point.
A lot of people who didn't know how to read, inflection and stuff like that, and tone and stuff into writing,
right?
Got a whole different Cloud than people that could see what they were trying to go for. So I think just having those little voices, like you bring up all the things like Resident Evil and all that, like you don't think about it then, but now the way those characters are portrayed there are how they're burned into your brain. So that's why seeing something, it takes a while in the remakes in 2 and 3 to hear better voice acting to kind of eliminate, your preconceived notions of those characters.
Yeah. And I did notice, like, obviously you have translation happening too. So sometimes I noticed the characters' portraits would switch from being like happy to maybe like amped up and angry or something. And what they were saying from the translation didn't 100% make sense for that face for like a split second. So that's another example of how voice acting really helps. Like having voiceovers help convey, the feelings or what, like, what's going on with that character. But yeah, it was bad. I can actually play the game. And I don't think it's possible to speed through cutscenes unless I miss something. Some cutscenes are small enough where it doesn't matter, and I get that they want you to watch the cutscene for what's happening. But I'm thinking about someone like you, Mark, who wants to play the game and you've played it in the past and you really don't want to sit there in the beginning for like 10, 15 minutes watching this thing crawl through what you've already seen a million times. It would just be nice to have the option to go through it if you wanted to. And then I was annoyed. It's really easy to exit the main part of town by accident.
Oh, did it 100 times.
Yeah. And that we're so used to like immediate gratification that 5-second amount of time that's being wasted waiting for that to load in and then load back out when you're going back to where you wanted to go really got on my nerves quickly. I must have went into the port about 50 times by accident. I'm like, no.
Well, the first problem is that it pops up on the top of the screen where you're going.
Right.
But it does it for like a second and you're already through the door.
Right.
I must have done it 10 times in a row on accident.
Yeah, until you realize, like, and they also have these little tiny signs where if, like you said, you can rotate your camera, which you need to do to go through the town too, but it's easy to miss the signs and like maybe someone wouldn't know, oh, I have to like stop and click on this sign to see if it says something. You know what I mean? Yep. So it was annoying. And then lastly, there is some creepy, weird, horny things in this game. The weirdest thing for me, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, I made sure I talked to everybody because that's one thing I know about RPGs. The kicker for me, there's like little comments about like soldiers having to respect women in charge. And like, there was like I don't know if there was like a strip club, coffee shop thing going on. I don't know what they were doing with that. But the kicker for me was the old man from house number 2 who lived upstairs pretending to be a kid, writing a creepy letter to an 18-year-old girl and them calling it out several times saying, well, hey, I mean, there's nothing wrong with your intention. Yes, there is. Are you serious? Like,
Yeah.
what the hell is that? Very, very weird. And I had to mention it because I figured you guys would have noticed that was going on.
That was a bit strange.
Really creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, RPGs aren't like my favorite genre to play through, but I really enjoyed my time with this game. I have logged almost 6 hours so far.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Committed to this game. I did not expect to. I don't know, honestly, if I'm going to continue because I looked it up and it takes at least 60 hours to go through the game. But I'm actually thinking about it, and I think that in itself is a testament to how good this game actually is overall.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have said a lot about this game that I agree with, so I'm just going to go through my usual ramble about the music being awesome because it's awesome.
It is.
It's so good. This is one of the best soundtracks so far that we've had in Retro Roulette. I don't know, like the opening theme is so epic. I don't know how else to describe it.
Great.
I love it, and I'm hoping like as you go, like the music stays that good because that keeps you. I feel like that keeps you engaged.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the beginning's a little long. It takes a little long to get through the beginning, especially if you don't have a guide. You could be running around that town for hours.
Yeah,
I
didn't use a guide at all.
Not knowing you have to talk to one person one time extra to have them tell you what you need to do. But yeah, again, it's an old school RPG. I feel like most people would want to play this with a guide. I don't think that is a detriment to this game. I just think that it's one of those things, an older RPG that doesn't have tutorials and stuff in it. Some people might want it, and I would probably be one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to the battle system, it kind of reminded me of a mixture between Chrono Trigger and I don't know if you've played Octopath Traveler. Octopath Traveler has that same moving style of gauge at the bottom that tells you when you're going to attack, when the other people are going to attack. And I imagine somewhere down the road, Mark, I don't know if you remember, you may be able to interrupt attacks and stuff like that when you can see it coming up on the screen.
Because this is a mixture of a couple battle systems that I have played, because it's also active and turn-based, sort of.
Well, yeah, because you don't have to, like, once it gets to your turn, everything pauses.
Yeah,
so
but
it's not 100% active.
Yeah, it's not like Trails or at Final Fantasy X where you can see it coming up and all you can do is just eliminate the person or add a speed up to your character to sort of jump in front of them more.
Yeah.
Because those are static turn-based. This being active gives you a little more chance to just basically overwhelm them in the battle, if you know what I'm saying. Like, sort of get like 2 to 3 hits in before they move, and you can see it happening on the bottom of the screen, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know if I'm assuming if it's like those other games, there's going to be certain moves that'll delay their turn.
Yeah, I imagine that's the case.
Yeah, because you think, the first summon in FF10 has a thing that delays a turn. Trails had that, had a couple special moves that would delay turns.
Final Fantasy VII had limit breaks, and that would delay a turn also. That would skip their turn. So
yeah,
I imagine something like that would come in on this.
Yeah, it would have to. Any game with a timeline, ATB thing that's not just bars filling up, always will have something to give you an advantage. And my guess would be, without getting as far into the game as Jen is, but I would imagine that speed becomes a very important stat in this game.
Speed is something I've noticed when you pick up random items that you find or like buy in the store.
Yeah,
there seems to be some pretty big boosts available early on.
Yeah, speed seems to be a stat that you can exploit in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't gotten far enough to see if it's broken as much as FF8 is with the junction system. But that's the one thing I would love to if I played it for the 20 hours or however long, 20, 30, I forget what it was, to beat it, to see if that trend continues, because these older games, never didn't care if it was unbalanced for something. And, they made the system the way they made it, and that's, oh well, people found an exploit,
Yep. But yeah, I think the biggest thing to me for the battle system, they kind of just throw you into it, and it's kind of hectic if you don't understand how it works. Because at first I did. Also, the translation for the attack system is kind of weird too. Basically, your normal attack is called combo, which would throw somebody off. It threw me off a little bit because I was like, what's combo? Does that mean I attacked with another person? It just didn't make a lot of sense to me at first, but I realized, that's just your normal attack. You just hit that. And, you have to learn how everyone's attacks work. And if they, if you need to be up close, because you also move around the map when you're fighting too. So
yeah,
you could take more damage if one character happens to move towards an enemy.
It's super annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying. Yeah.
I'm facing a big boss right now that I can't figure out. That's something I need to probably look at a guide for. Because of the lack of tutorial, I haven't figured out how to move my characters around the correct way.
But yeah, I mean, it's got a learning curve. Most RPGs do.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, Jenny's definitely right. The voice acting is horrendous. There's just no way around that. Bad. It gives it a little character, but it's pretty bad. Mm-hmm. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad everybody's enjoying it at least. Jen, this is I've never seen you get into playing an RPG this much.
I know. Just yeah. I mean, you had said, to give it probably about 2 hours just to make, because it is slow and, whatever. But I played it for the 2 hours and I was like, okay, I'll go for a little bit longer. And then I'm like, I'll go for a little bit longer. And then I was going to stop after I did the salt mine, which is like a big progression in the story in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I picked it back up again today and I played it for another 3 hours after work. And I stopped because we had to do this podcast. I'm like, am I going to wind up really committing to this game now?
Sounds like you are.
Yeah, probably. It's weird. It's not my kind of game, but I like it.
That's good.
So,
I'm glad. I'm glad we're finding stuff for you that you like. That's out of
I never ever would have played this on my own. So
awesome. Well, let's give it a score and see what we ultimately think of it, and then we'll get hopefully we'll get another one that you enjoy. Jen, what do you give it?
So I gave this a 4 out of 5. Overall, enjoyed playing it. The music and art style is great. The story is cute. I like the dynamic between the characters. It has its annoyances, but I feel like the positives outweigh the negatives. And I am kind of embarrassed to admit there's a part in the game where he leaves home to go on his adventure, and it made me a little bit emotional.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I have never ever gotten this committed to an RPG before, and I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, he has a little note in his pocket from his mom because he tried to sneak away from home without her noticing to make it easier on her. And she knew the whole time and wrote him a goodbye letter. And it was really sad. I was like, damn, this is making me tear up. What is happening right now? I did not expect to go into Retro Roulette and tear up about it. This isn't The Last of Us. What is happening?
Sorry.
I was just saying, did you catch what she was in the beginning?
Yes. Oh, I love her.
Okay.
Yeah. Pirate. Yeah.
You mean to tell me, Jen, that a JRPG has the main character need to leave his town?
I know, shocking.
In the adventure.
Yeah, that part not original, but
at least he didn't leave in exile,
right?
Or the town didn't burn down,
and he didn't leave a farm behind that very possibly could be attacked by monsters and eaten alive.
Yeah, those people
and never revisited to know what happened. Nope, no plot holes so far.
Well, there's 2 more games in that series, Jen. We don't know if we ever go back to that far.
That's true. Oh my god!
You can get them on the Switch.
Yeah, well, I'd rather play through this first, and then we'll revisit. Yeah. But I would highly recommend this game for anyone that enjoys JRPGs. If they haven't played it, play it. It's really good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mark, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm 4 out of 5 as well. I really want to get into this game, but I think I'm more committed. I'm the opposite of Jen. I'm more committed to the other games that I had purchased than this game. But it's definitely one that I would love to put away in my, backlog. Like, just get it off that backlog, since I have technically started it twice already. I may at one point just go through with a walkthrough and just beat it. You know how I finally beat 8 back in the day?
Yep.
Like, by back in the day, I mean like 5 years ago, where I was just on my save, I was just stuck in the same place, forever, and then just went, I'm just going to look up how to beat it. And that's when I learned exactly how broken that game was. So I might have to do that with this just to get through it, so that I'm not wasting time, running around doing things. But
I hope when you decide to play through this, I have already beaten it, so I can experience you playing through it, because I'm sampling what you and Tom must have felt when I was playing through Final Fantasy and you guys were helping me.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoy this game and I would like to watch someone else enjoy it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So look forward to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's everything about this is, there's no, I'm trying to think, it meets the expectations when you hear about it talked in the JRPG community.
It had rave reviews, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those games that it holds up and is good.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Yep, I agree. I'm also giving it a 4 out of 5. I mean, I'm giving this game 2 points probably just because of the music and the art style on top, before I even get to the gameplay and the game itself. But yeah, highly recommend it. Like we said, it's coming out. I think Grandia 1 and 2 are remastered on the Switch. So if that's how you can play it there. If not, there's plenty of other ways to go about it. And if you own a Mister, you may be able to play it on there very soon. So keep an eye out for that. All right. Straight 4s for Grandia. Let us spin the wheel. Okay, we're back in SNES land. It's been a long time since we've played a game on the Super NES. We're playing Batman Forever.
Oh boy.
Dan will be excited for that.
He'll be excited, but I have a feeling this is not going to be good.
Oh no, from Grandia to this?
Yeah, I have a bad feeling about this.
Oh boy. Okay.
This is a game that I'm not really familiar with. It was one of the games that I got in a bunch of games, and I just never played it. So we'll see.
Yeah. And you said SNES, right?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Mark, do you have any history with Batman Forever?
No, before the Arkham games, my only history with Batman games was the NES one.
Mine was the Game Boy one. So
yeah.
Which you can currently purchase in the 3DS digital store. Just saying.
All right. So I think this is going to do it for it this evening. Before we get out of here, Mark, you want to let everybody know about all of our other stuff going on?
Yeah, so we have They Call This a Movie. It's our movie podcast, better known as TC Tam. We're TC Tam Pod. That's TCTAM on all socials. So be sure, TikTok, anywhere you want to follow us on the social medias. We're there. We just finished our poll for the last movie of Gerard, which was Air Force One. Very good timing for that movie to come out. It says, as Ant said on Twitter, it is our best timing of a movie since we released RoboCop on 1/7/2021. So yeah, we have a problem. We discussed that in the beginning, where we need to figure out how to use this superpower that we have for choosing movies or talking about people in movies, and then things happening in the real world. So watch that. It's a good episode. Movie was probably way too good for our podcast, but you guys voted for it. And that airs every Thursday. So be sure to check that out wherever you get your podcast, Spreaker, Apple, Google, wherever. We're heading into March. There's a special holiday that shows up with March that's also connected with a very poor series of movies that we may be watching one of them again. So be on the lookout for that. Jen, what's our streams?
So right now we stream 3 days a week here on Game Vault Pod on Twitch. We stream on Mondays. That's Tom's night. It's Retro Day. So it's either our Retro Roulette game or it is his continuation of Chrono Trigger currently. Then Wednesdays is our multiplayer day where we jump on 3 of us, usually with our friends as well. And we play through usually it's like a FPS game. Right now it is Halo Infinite. So we call it Halo Hump Days. And then Thursdays is Mark's co-op day. In the past, we've played through It Takes Two together. Right now, it is just a grab bag day because of personal life stuff happening, but we will get back to the co-op stuff very soon. And in general, if you guys want to know when we're streaming and what we're going to be streaming, you can follow us on Twitter at Game Vault Pod, or you can join our Discord if you want to visit us on our Twitch page. We do have a link to our Discord. We try to update you guys as much as possible on either social account.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys come check out Batman Forever on the Twitch stream. If you're listening to this today, it comes out. I'll be on probably 9:30 and be hanging out and chat and hopefully not being horrendous at this game. Lastly, before we get out of here, I want to mention that we're an affiliate of Stone Age Gamer. If you have a need for any retro console accessories, whether they be controllers or cables or power supplies or flash carts, head on over to Stone Age Gamer via the link in the description of this show. And every time you use that to purchase something, it gives us a little kickback and helps us make our podcasts and streams better for you guys. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. And hopefully you all are staying well. Be nice to each other. And for Mark and Jenny, I'm Tom, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.